Hi, everyone. I'm your host, Dave Sands. Welcome to the Food Origins podcast. I'll be talking to people about their unique stories with food. And as a quick reminder, the restaurants and gear talked about on each episode can be found on my website, foodoriginspodcast.com. I appreciate your support, and thanks for listening. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Food Origins podcast. On this episode, I was fortunate enough to talk to my older brother, my one and only brother, Mike Sands, and appreciate him coming on. He's currently in the tech world and also a martial artist. And we go over basically, our childhood to adulthood, and going over what we ate as a kid and kind of diversifying, showing how diverse our family was, and some of the trauma that goes along with some of the Asian cuisine that we would bring to school. And also, my brother's very well traveled, so we talk about kind of all the different places that he's gone to, and sharing all of that. And then some of the cooking background that he has, some of the restaurants that he worked at. And then we kind of go into some of the local places that he likes to eat. And shout out to Hendo Studios. We were able to record this episode on location in San Diego, California. So enjoy. All right, we're live. We're rolling.
What's going on, bro?
Hey, bro. Thanks for being on. We're here with my brother. I'll give a little intro in the beginning of this podcast, but, thanks for being on.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for visiting me here in San Diego.
Yeah, we're on location, and fortunate to be in Courtney's studio and borrowing his studio and starting this podcast up. And I'm here with my brother, Michael.
Hendo Studios.
At Hendo Studios. This is podcast 002. Let's get into it. Basically, we're talking food and anything else. Kind of open it up. First question right out the gate, kind of for us, what'd you eat growing up?
Man, what did I eat growing up?
Childhood eats.
I would say, since our mother's Japanese, I would say a lot of Japanese style comfort food. And then mom tried to make some, basically 40s, 50s, American, Eastern American comfort food too, like turkey and hams and meatloafs and, different things.
Pull that mic a little bit to you. There you go. Keep going.
Is it good?
A little bit more.
Is that it?
Perfect. So yeah, mom made turkey, ham, some barbecue chicken. Sometimes she did her own teriyaki chicken, right?
Teriyaki chicken. She did her own fried chicken.
That's one of our favorites. That's one of your top favorites, right?
Yeah, that she made. We always had a good time making it. She always liked to make it for me. After I was out of the house and I'd come home, she'd always have that ready for us.
It's a unique dish.
Is it? I mean, I don't know if it's that unique. What do you think?
Unique in its own way. Like, I think she got the recipe from one of my classmates' moms, and it's this where you take the chicken leg, cut the tendons off the chicken leg, and push. My mom liked to call it. And before we get any further, this podcast is dedicated to our late mother. She passed away a couple years ago.
2019.
So shout out to mom. And she'd push the chicken, so she called it push chicken, and all the meat gets pushed to the top. Mm-hmm. And then she'd make a batter for it, some cornstarch, soy sauce, garlic, green onion.
Mm-hmm. Lots of garlic.
Lots of garlic, usually.
I think it's called, if you look it out onto the world there, I think people call it lollipop chicken.
Lollipop, but,
Yeah.
I call it what mom called it, push chicken.
Push all the chicken to the end.
Yeah, but definitely, and in her own way. I see different variations, but yeah.
It's a good
it's a good one.
Good fried chicken, yeah.
For sure.
Lightly fried, kind of like mochiko chicken style, karage style.
For sure. Anything else? Like
Comfort wise,
or just anything.
I always liked her meatloaf, even though it wasn't the greatest meatloaf. It's just something about it. Like, I guess because she made it, and Dad ate it. He liked it. Something like just with rice and something about that. Oh, I also liked her gizzards. She made chicken gizzards.
Yes,
those were good. She liked that. And
how about anything you didn't like?
There wasn't much that I didn't like growing up. There's not much that I didn't really like. I pretty much ate everything. I don't know how much but there's a little bit of trauma there. Like if I didn't like something, I'd just get smacked across the face. So I would just
you have to eat it, huh?
I ate everything on my plate. And
right.
And when we sat down for dinner, I don't know if you noticed or remember, but I would eat everything on my plate and it'd just be done. And so there was at the end of the day, there was no. And maybe maybe that was good for me because I try not to waste food, and I've been around the world, as and it opens you up to try everything. I've tried everything from.
It does.
Bugs to everything else.
I was a slow eater, so sometimes actually I was stuck at the table, and you don't get to leave unless you're done with your food, and everyone else would be gone sometimes, and I'm still eating. But you got to eat what's in front of you. And then you said something about trauma with food, like you said, growing up. Tell me more about that.
Oh, well, so I grew up, I guess this would be like the mid 80s, early 80s, going to school, having an Asian mother in San Francisco, even though how progressive San Francisco is, still got bullied in school for, having like a bento or like, or whatever. And then, so you get segregated too with all the other Asian kids, cause your lunch is weird or something like that.
Yeah. Mom's packed lunch, right?
Well, Mom would never, I guess the style, like some of my friends would be like, oh, they have like a bag lunch and then they could like eat it and then, toss it away, and then they're like free to play, and they didn't have anything to put back in their bag or anything like that. And I didn't really understand that concept at that time. Plus, eating with chopsticks and rice and and so I would eat bento with the other bento, there's a couple Chinese kids and, I remember one time actually I was fourth grade. It might have been fourth or fifth grade, somewhere around there. And I was eating, I had my bento and I was eating it or whatever. And, I was eating next to this kid, we were like eating lunch together so we could be left alone. And he was a Chinese kid and he had pigeon for lunch. Mm-hmm. And it was like, I remember like these little marinated, like tiny little wings and like chunks of meat. And it was a type of small bird. He said it was pigeon, but I don't know if it
quail or something
small bird. And he's like, hey, you want to try something? I'm like, sure. So I remember eating like a little bit, and then all these kids came over and like, oh, you're eating like this pigeon, and like, what the fuck you're eating, and all this stuff, And man, I was like, I was pissed,
I'm sure.
I was like, dude, what's up? Like it's just our food, and but
you're disappointed by that.
I don't know if I was disappointed. I was just pretty hurt.
Right.
So that's some trauma.
I don't want to bring too much, but bring it back up to a little lighter mode. My brother's 5 years older than me. He's well traveled. Let's talk about some travel. You've been around quite a bit of places all over the world. Mm-hmm. Yep. Let's get into that. We could get into a little bit of heritage too, but let's get into some of your travels and some of your favorite eats. Maybe some bad ones too.
Favorite meals around the world. I don't know. Let's start locally. Let's start, I think when I moved out of the house, I think when I was 18, lived in Los Angeles, was quite a wild ride of cooking. And that's actually how I fell into cooking, getting jobs in restaurants. But I remember one of the first good sushi meals that I had as a young man was Matsuhisa in Los Angeles. Great sushi spot, great celebrity spot, all that kind of stuff.
Shout out to Nobu.
Yeah, but Matsuhisa was I think that was actually his first restaurant, and
I believe so.
And it was a great experience.
I think Mike liked it so much that when I visited LA, that was the spot he told me to go to, and I even was fortunate enough to be there, sat at the counter, had a great meal.
Yeah, and all the guys that worked there, I never saw Nobu, but I did go there I went there twice. And the first time, you sit next to all these different celebrities, and that's really fun. But the second time, I went there for my birthday, and they do something fun there. They shut all the house lights if it's your birthday, and they put like a fake spotlight on you, and and they just everybody gets a shot of a beer on the bar for the guys behind the counter, and and they just say they just give you a quick compile. They don't take too much time. They just turn the house lights off and say, "Hey, it's Michael's birthday," and then they get everybody involved, and then the guys behind the counter come by, give a cheers, and then they turn all the house lights back on. So it's kind of fun. They kind of make everybody feel at home. At least back then.
At least giving it a nice experience.
Back then, yeah. Back then, I think it was more personable. They don't do that sort of stuff anymore, but
yeah.
It was pretty cool. So that was a pretty memorable.
One of your top favorite memorable restaurants?
Well, I think it's just memorable meals,
Yeah.
I think it's so important. And just the memory itself. Another good one is I was in between Mongolia and India, the top of India. And so there's a ton of Mongolian refugees because of how China took over Mongolia. And so there's a lot of Mongolian refugees that came down to avoid, being under Chinese rule. And so they settled in India. And there's a great, they claim that they're all vegan, but they're not. They just don't kill animals at the end of the day. So basically the Dalai Lama's vegan, but a lot of the monks and stuff still eat meat and all that kind of stuff. So in India, there's a lot of buffalo that they eat. And so we had these, they're basically their version of a dumpling. It's called a momo. And we were at this little hole in the wall place, it was part of a temple where they were staying, and so we had this momo dish, right? It's this light, sort of meat broth, and then these stewed dumplings are in it, real thick skin, and then buffalo dumpling. Pretty sure it was buffalo dumplings, and then they make their own really pasty type hot sauce, and so I took the momo out, and first of all, I just want to try it, so I ate one with the broth, and it was really good,
Are they big or small?
They look like, they look like Chinese dumplings. They look
pot sticker or something?
Pot stickers.
Okay.
They're all very similar.
Okay.
You can get those almost in every Asian country around the world. They all look pretty similar.
Right.
Just different names, right?
Right.
So I was eating one. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Tasty, maybe I was just super hungry. And I go and I dip it in the hot sauce, and out comes all these bugs that were in the hot sauce, a giant bug and all these little bugs. And I guess they somehow they're attracted to this hot sauce, and they just go in there and they die.
Oh God.
Yeah. So and the hygiene over there was, not the hygiene you expect.
Correct.
And so it's pretty funny.
Third world country, right?
Yeah. And so I have all these bugs on my hot sauce, and like I see everybody else, like all these guys, like all these basically these monks that were former refugees. They're like looking at me like, you should just eat it, like it's not a big deal. And they were eating theirs,
Right.
It's like family style, like they're sitting at the table, and I'm like, whoop. So I just ate it all, and they're dead, and it's not a big deal. It's just extra protein, right? So,
Right.
And it's hot sauce, so you can't really taste it.
Pray you don't get sick. Yeah.
So yeah, so that was a good memorable meal. I mean, I have a ton of them. Like Japan was crazy. It was like a lot of food in Japan.
I think if you guys don't know, like we, with our time gap of when we were growing up, 5 years is kind of a far way. And Mike kind of went all over, and he spent some time in Japan. Tell us about your time in Japan and some of your favorite things there.
Time in Japan.
Well, some cool spots.
Yeah. So I was dating a girl that was learning Buto from a guy, and it's a Japanese modern dance, and she trained under the master that kind of started to develop this new thing out of the 70s. And it's basically black box theater with a certain dance style. And
okay.
So we were just, there, and I was running around Japan, and I got hired. Since I had experience from school, I got hired to work for the American school teaching Photoshop, and then doing other like little side hustles. I also used my photo degree, took pictures of a lot of models for their Z cards, and real simple photography. So that's basically what I was doing, was running around Japan. Plus, mom came over, and we spent a lot of time with family and going to Shikoku and Kyoto, and like just visiting a lot of family, and spending a lot of time with family there, which was another amazing experience. One meal that we made, it was me, mom, and her mom, and we just got into town in Shikoku, and we went to her mom's house, which was this tiny little like shack but it was pretty cool because it was a traditional Japanese house. It was like the only one left on the property. Her sister had a house, but it was a newer house that was built on the property in the front. So they were living there as well. But so we went and we made mochi first, like by hand, and then we got tired, and so we had to dig out the mochi machine, and we made. She had like this.
It does take a while.
She had this mochi machine, but the best part of it is we all made it together. My mom was, apologizing for, not visiting enough, and it was a quite a spiritual family moment. And so I got done making the mochi. I got to deliver it around town. She kind of just gave me a few places to go, and I had a couple of trays, and I was on a bicycle, and I dropped them off. My Japanese is not great, and but they kind of realized where I was coming from, and it was fun. It was like, and then of course we ate some, and we also made udon. Her mom, her sister's a really good comfort style food cook, country style, and we made udon.
Did you have any tempura?
Huh?
Did you have any tempura?
No, we didn't make tempura.
Yeah, she made some when I was there.
But just udon.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know, like these days, we don't eat much dairy, but when I was there, Auntie Misa had fresh milk delivered to the house in Shikoku.
Yeah, that's a rare thing.
That's the best milk I've ever tasted.
Because like Japan didn't really have cows.
Yeah.
Until later.
Yeah. Right on. And if I remember correctly, you told me this a while ago, there was a place you went to eat, I believe, you can correct me, in Nagano, that you said has probably been there since the Edo period. Some old place you went to.
Yeah.
The wood is, at least the physical location is old.
Yeah, the physical location was like 400 years old.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
We had it was a soba restaurant, and they just been there forever. And I had tempura, but it was only like one piece. It came out on a stand,
like a samurai sword,
something like that. It was like propped up on this stand, and it was like one piece. And then you had your soba, and the place was like incredibly old. And
how did you find it? Is it like in the mountain or something?
No, it was near the Olympic, well, what they called the Olympic Village at the time, because I was there. We went to the 1998 Nagano Olympics, Winter Olympics. So I saw bobsledding, was the only event I saw, and then kind of like cruising around outside of the private Olympic Village into the public area, and in around the town and stuff. So it's like, I think it's in town or close to town.
Mm-hmm. I just remember you telling me how like the wood structure is
everything was perfect,
solid,
yeah,
and like craftsmanship, craftsmanship that just withstand the test of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like you're sitting and you're like, you know what? There's probably thousands of people have sat here, whether it was a restaurant or not. This place, the way it's built, is meant to. It'll still be there when we're gone. The people, you were like a dark wood and the structure.
Yeah, it was.
You're like, I think samurais sat.
It was
here.
amazing. There's like two places I went to like that. So this was like a soba house. So the soba, apparently was there or the restaurant was there for a long time. And then I went to a tofu restaurant near Tokyo that was also really, really old. They been making tofu there forever. So that was pretty cool.
What about any of the island countries, Europe, anything you want to highlight out of those places you went? I know you kind of, you bounced around quite a bit, so,
I don't know. I mean, I think, like Southeast Asia, I think we were talking about Laksa the other day, like Thailand and Singapore and Malaysia have their own versions. And I like, looking at I like trying those international dishes that are made slightly different everywhere, in Vietnam, I had pho, every street corner has their own version, which is really, really great. Just like Japan too. Like when I took my family to Japan, like Lucius and I just loved eating like ramen out of like these ramen stalls all over the place, just experiences. And I think that kind of makes it
all worth the time to get there and everything.
Yeah, of course.
And then that kind of goes into more, some of the other stuff. Like you actually have some cooking background.
I do have some.
You worked in the restaurants.
I do have some trial by fire cooking background, right?
Yeah.
I didn't go to school like you did, but basically I was looking for a job in Los Angeles. I got a job. I was walking around my neighborhood, got a job in Venice, basically as a waiter. But that lasted about a week and a half because I was too slow, basically. Okay. I would talk a lot. I would talk to my friends, I was like 18, 19. I was like, oh, dude, like, what's up, man? Friends would come in and
chatting it up.
So I'd just be chatting it up where I should have been working.
Right.
But, I got along well with the owner, really nice lady. And so she's like, hey, you're kind of scrappy. Like, why don't we try you in the kitchen, And I am kind of scrappy. I do have a mouth on me, more so when I was younger than I am now, but it was fun. It was like, you could, sling pots and just, it was a really fun time. It was basically like,
do you remember what kind of food they had?
It was, she was a gypsy. Okay. So it's a blend of like a lot of Middle Eastern style, like Turkish food, but then also like California ingredients, right? Like, the chicken was like real fresh and organic, and lots of like really seasonal vegetables, but then she'd have like like some saffron style rices, and the menu rotated weekly, just to keep it fresh for all the type of people that were coming in. So basically just started from the bottom, and started peeling garlic, and then from there, deboning chicken was a big one. Spent like a month doing that, and then then I always worked my way up to the line basically, and was on the line.
Was it a big kitchen or a little kitchen?
It's a medium-sized kitchen.
Okay. How many line cooks? Like 3?
I think it was like 2, maybe 2 line cooks. We had a sous that was like kind of versatile, and then we had the head chef, and she was like, she was, both sides of the line, and
just kind of telling everybody what's up, what to do.
Yeah. And then she'd go out and make sure everything's okay and stuff. And then, then I did some stints in like a few restaurants around Los Angeles, and so.
Did you do some in SF too? San Francisco?
Yeah. I did a few stints in some restaurants in San Francisco. I can't remember the names of it right now. Slow Club.
I remember.
The head chef there, was she actually came from some other pretty well-known restaurants in San Francisco.
I believe it's still there. I just don't know if it's called that. It might be something else.
Yeah.
It's in the Mission.
I think the owner definitely sold it.
Yeah. And then that kind of takes us to where we are now. We're in San Diego. You live here. I mean,
I think there's a few gaps in there. But
there's a few gaps. Why don't you could fill those in? How you ended up, food-wise, traveling-wise,
Let's see.
I mean, I kind of had it at your favorite location, the country. I think that's kind of something we didn't talk about. What was you have some memorable experience? Do you have like an all-time favorite spot? You're like, this is my all-time favorite restaurant.
No, I couldn't say.
Couldn't narrow it down.
I couldn't say I had an all-time favorite spot. That wouldn't be fair.
Right.
Because I think Asia, traveling around Asia and being in Asia is a spot on its own.
Mm-hmm.
And then we traveled around Europe and Southern Europe, and that's a spot on its own. We've had some memorable meals in Italy, and places like that. But that would be a spot on its own. And then here in America, I think there's like different spots on it. I remember. Was it your birthday or my birthday? We went to Chez Panisse.
My birthday. Shout out to you. You took me to Chez Panisse on my birthday.
Yeah.
I actually still remember what we had. That's how good it was.
Do you remember the soup?
It was a fish like dumpling kind of thing, if I remember correctly.
Nope.
No? Okay,
well, maybe we had 2 soups. I don't know. I don't remember.
It was a prefixed menu, so we had a nice menu.
Yeah.
Shout out to Alice Waters. That's her place.
So that was
Berkeley.
The soup, the original soup was like I want to say like it was like almost like a butternut squash, but it wasn't a butternut squash.
I think you're correct.
It was like that sort of consistency, that kind of flavor, but there was more. I think there might have been a little bit of seafood flavor in there,
right?
Something like that.
Yes.
So
it was some sort of broth and mixture.
So that was nice. That was a fun.
That was an awesome meal.
That was a fun meal. Yeah.
When you have something well executed, as that place puts out food, everything's fresh and local, and pulling from all the local vendors in the area. And, she's huge and part of that movement as far as having everything local. Right.
So fresh. I think top meals are like ones similar to that, where you just kind of have like a overall experience with, your friends and family, and and travels, of course. There's another memorable meal. I was on a surf trip in Nicaragua, and it was just like this whole, we were down on our luck. I was driving like this 4-wheel drive Hilux, pretty badass car, because I know you're a car guy.
Love the Hilux. Not available in the U.S.
And we were tired. We just come through off the beaches, we're just driving this, and we're trying to drive toward our house where we were staying. And we pull over on this little palapa on the side of the road, and this woman was really down to earth, and you know, since I looked Mexican, she was like, "Oh, what's up?" And she, you know, she liked me, and she tried to set me up with her daughter, and you know, we just had like, it was just so warm and welcoming. And then like you sit down and, and then there was a monkey like trying to steal her food. And, I had to slap that bitch. Dude, he like jumped on the table and he was like trying to like, and I fucking smacked it in the face. I was like, you're done.
Not okay.
No, it's not. Like he was like just bothering everybody. And finally I just had to alpha male it, you know.
Was it a pet monkey or just random monkey?
It was a pet monkey, but it was obnoxious.
Right.
Like the kid that had it was just way out of control.
Okay.
I mean, it was grabbing people's food. It was like so obnoxious.
Okay.
And all you had to do was alpha male it, and then, you know, it like went away.
Got it.
So I guess that's part of the experience, right?
Right.
And so we sat, and so she brought out like these beautiful rice and beans, like a steamed fish or fried fish of the day, and like these like collard type greens, you know, like stewed greens, and like you know, and so a couple beers, and like everybody was sitting around, and we had such a good time, and it was like the food was so good and so comforting. You know, it was amazing. Another one. Oh, another good one is I had a close friend growing up, Carl, and we went to one of my trips to Bali. We went to we went on
I thought this story might come up.
Oh yeah?
You have told me, but let's hear it. We want to hear it.
So we went to this so toward the end of our trip, I was like, "Hey, let's go to this guy like wants to take us to like a I guess it's like a winter a festival. I can't remember exactly which one, but it was a festival in his village, and he's like, "Hey, you know, I'll take you. Of course, I'm going to charge you, but you know, you get all this and that." And I think it was just a way for him to make a little extra money as he, you know, went back to his village. And so I was like, "Sure, yeah." And Carl was like a little pretty hesitant, but we went anyway, and we ended up like going to this festival. We ended up like playing in a band. You know, like he got us in the festival by like having us dress up as musicians, because we didn't bring any clothes, and in that culture it's pretty disrespectful if you show a lot of skin. So during the formal part of the festival, so he gave us like these musician uniforms, and then he shoved us into the musician place, and they like looked at us like we're supposed to play or something, and they kind of just made fun of us, and like we had a good time. And so we're there, but on the way up we ate like that. We pulled over and we ate some fish, and man, this fish was like really good, but super hot. Like so many like bird's eye chili, and like chili upon chili on chili, and we were just sweating. I have a picture of it somewhere. We're just sweating through our clothes that we were wearing, and like dripping. Like my chin was like dripping with sweat and stuff, and you know, like
Is that the hottest thing you've ever had? Probably.
I don't think it's like, it wasn't like really hot, you know. It wasn't like you know, whatever that, I had some of those whatever those
Reapers, Carolina Reapers.
I had some Carolina Reaper wings once, and that was really hot. It wasn't like quite that hot, but it was more of like a consistent, like I couldn't get rid of it hot, you know, like it just kept coming, and like, you know, it just like you just kept sweating and dripping and dripping.
And it was a fish dish, right?
It was a beautiful fish. It was like a whole fish, deep fried, but covered in chilies. And they were laughing. The Indonesians were laughing. They're like, "Ha, you gringos." And you know, so that was a pretty memorable meal.
Yeah. I mean, that story,
quite the experience too. Like we went up there, and
it's beautiful there, right?
Oh, it's amazing. Bali's
gorgeous.
Great,
yeah. And then you know, kind of coming into some of the other stuff, like you're a big coffee guy. You like coffee?
I do like dark coffee. Shout out to Cafe Moto here in San Diego. Nice dark coffee.
There we go. I think that kind of comes into my question about local San Diego spots.
That's the spot.
So for coffee, there you go, Cafe Moto.
Dark coffee. Yeah.
And let's get into food spots in San Diego. What's your shout out to your favorite spots, and tell us where to eat in San Diego since we're here.
Oh, my friend's got a great restaurant, Fish 101, up in Leucadia and Carlsbad. He's got 2 locations. That's pretty much my go-to seafood spot.
What do you like there?
Pretty much any. You can't go wrong. I like the shrimp bowl, fish bowl, poke bowl. You know, can't really go wrong.
Anywhere else?
Ramen. There's a couple ramen spots. Menu Ultra and Rocky are good.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is kind of the question, that comes up is, we dealt with and we're kind of still dealing with the pandemic. It's something that we, all our favorite spots we get to go or eat at were closed down. Everyone started cooking at home, started buying ingredients at the store. Maybe a little too many things were bought, but tell us kind of what'd you make during the pandemic? What's something that you started cooking that you didn't cook before? That's now probably in the rotation that was never there before, and maybe some new. My brother's pretty good at cooking, and he likes to try new things and explore. And what did you pick up during the pandemic? And
I think I didn't really pick up anything. I think what we did was like maybe every 2 weeks, because we're pretty busy. I mean, the pandemic didn't really slow us down. It actually made us more efficient. My partner, she still worked full time. Lucius was in school full time, and I was still working part time and taking care of, and running the house and doing a lot of construction and other things. So there was no real downtime. So as far as food, we were into like maybe trying a recipe like every 1 or 2 weeks. So, for example, just recently we got sort of like a Middle Eastern. I mean, it was called the Jerusalem Cookbook, but it's basically like Middle Eastern flavors. But it's pretty basic, like chicken thighs with saffron rice, and like it's just the way that they use like cumin and turmeric and different spices like that. Or so we would try dishes like that. I do have, if I had more time, I would do things like a friend of mine did. He ran through. I like those people. I like following folks, or like a friend of mine. Like they ran through like the entire cookbook. They would pick a cookbook, like he did. Andy, I forgot his last name. Reuter. The guy Pok.
Correct. I believe it's Andy Rucker.
Rucker, yeah. Anyway, so he did like his entire book, and that was pretty cool.
Andy Ricker,
yeah. So Andy Ricker from Pok.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's another place I ate a lot at actually when I was living in Portland. That he opened that restaurant when I was there, so I ate there a few times.
Yeah, I've only had like they have a little outlet in Vegas, and I got their chicken wings, and they were delicious. Sticky rice, some chicken wings. I think it comes with the little sauce. I think it's like fish sauce, maybe, right?
Probably
something like that. Yeah, right on.
Anyway, but I like I like people that like run through the whole cookbook. I think that's a pretty good.
That's awesome.
That'd be a fun thing to do.
I think I need to do that too. I want to do that as well.
Yeah, it'd be cool. And then you're so much on social media, you could like every time you make the dish, you could just post it.
That'd be cool. And you've given me some good ones, and I've got some, and my wife's given me some. So yeah, definitely have to do that for sure. That's on the list to do. And then it kind of goes into, is there a recipe? And I'm going to be doing this with everybody. Is there a recipe or something dish that you want everybody to have? You want them to try it.
Oh,
you're like, well, you should have this. This is either where you can get it or you can make it at home.
This is a pretty simple one. There's a lot of them out there. But so this is for all the meat eaters. Short ribs. People, are hesitant about buying short ribs and cooking short ribs. So there's a really great dish. All you do is you can get them long or short, season it with salt, stick it in a baking pan, right? So a pan that seals on top, or your baking dish, fill it up with a little bit of water, and start with that, right? What comes out after maybe 5 or 6 hours at like 200 degrees Fahrenheit, it's nice and soft, pulls right off the bone, fat's rendered, all the water's gone. So now you have like a pretty much like a really soft sort of like braised rib. Now you can go anywhere with it. Sometimes you can leave everything in its place. You could take the cover off of it. You could stick it back on and set your oven to broil. Give it a little nice crisp. You can do that. I don't like to burn my food, so I'm not really into like the dark char. So what I do is I actually leave it, and then I make like a remoulade, right? Like, so it's like a chimichurri with breadcrumbs, basically. So I'll make a chimichurri type sauce, cilantro, garlic, whatever else you want to put in there, lemon juice, etc., lime juice, and then add the crispy breadcrumbs, like sourdough breadcrumbs. It's really good in there. And then if you want to get your starch, just put it over rice, and it's ridiculous.
I'm hungry.
Yeah, that makes it like money. And that's a really easy recipe to do, because you can do the meat, and then the sauce that you want to put on top, you can.
It's your choice.
Right? Yeah, you could do like you could do like a sort of like maybe like a pasty pico de gallo, right? Like you could do even tomato sauce works. Like if you're into like tomato sauce, you could do that. And then.
You do like a spicy marinara or something.
Yeah, then all of a sudden it becomes, so it's pretty versatile.
Mm-hmm.
I know short ribs are not the cheapest cut, but
they taste good when they're broken down.
Yeah, so that's a fun dish to make. That takes a long time. And a lot of love it. Like you bring it to the table, everybody loves it.
Very nice. I think that's a fan favorite. If you're a meat eater, that's definitely going to be a fan favorite. I know you started smoking food in a smoker for a little while. You have a favorite thing that you like to make in there? You've got Michael's got a little Traeger Scout. And tell us what you've been making in there.
I think the best thing I made so far is these marinated chicken kebabs. So I would marinate thighs, with basically an Asian-based seasoning, I guess. And then
like soy,
mirin, sesame oil, garlic. There's like some furikake type seasoning,
right?
Et cetera, et cetera. And then as it breaks down, then I would cut it up, kebab it, and then grill it off. And that came out amazing, because you can not necessarily burn it, right? Like it kind of, you can cook it lower.
Slow grilled.
You can slow grill it, and that's what I did. So I would stack them tight. I would slow grill it, and then it would come out. So not so much, again, I don't like the char. I don't like it dry. Mm-hmm. So.
And shout out to the pellet grills. They have changed the game with that. Like it's easy. It's controllable. You don't have to look at it every 2 seconds.
But make sure you clean your grill.
Yes. I've had the same issue. If you don't clean it, you're going to have issues. The smoke should be clear, not cloudy. Yeah. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, man.
And then, like that's another tool. That's my next question. You got a favorite tool in the kitchen that you like? That's,
not anymore. I mean,
and it doesn't, I'm not talking about a gadget. It doesn't have to be a gadget, but
no,
maybe
I
something
mean,
that you like.
Not really.
Yeah.
I live, I don't, in my household, we, like when you live with people, you just kind of try to acclimate with each other. And so, I have a medium-sized kitchen, and I would say like I just have, with like yourself, with enough experience, it actually doesn't really matter. I do like a sharp knife. That helps a lot.
Yeah, dull knife is no good.
Yeah, but
get an
you know, like I don't
infection.
have any specialty knives or anything. I mean, there's a couple brands that I bought, but you know, nothing spectacular. You know, just I could cook with a sharp Dexter, and I'll be happy.
Yeah, sharp knife is great, but I mean, it does. You know, you've given me a nice global Sentoku, and I love that knife.
Yeah, gave
high
you a
quality,
global, gave you a Meissen.
Meissen.
I don't know. So.
And then and then I have my old culinary knife that was $20.
Yeah, exactly.
And
that's what I mean.
Sharp,
yeah.
and you have a steel handy.
Yeah,
it keeps everything good to go.
I think it's like user experience. You know, like if you know how to use it, you could do it with anything.
Yeah, and like you said, a $25 knife off Amazon, you could probably prep the whole kitchen with that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to dinners with like professional chefs, and they make amazing dinners with like
the simplest
crappy ovens and crappy whatever. So it's all it's all how you work it.
Right, work with what you got.
Exactly.
And then that kind of is it. I mean, if there's no other gear or anything, I just kind of leave it up to you. The floor is yours. Anything you got going on, anything you want anyone to know about, it's all you.
No, I'm all good. You know, if you want to, if it's
close it out here. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, of course.
Always more great meals to come.
That's right. Maybe we'll do another one down the line.
We'll definitely do another one down the line. Maybe have some other food to talk about. Always cooking. We're both cooking. We cooked yesterday, and
yeah, that was fun.
Korean. We did Korean style yesterday, and it was a lot of fun. So appreciate you coming on, bro. Thank you.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody. We're out.
Take it easy.
And as a quick reminder, the restaurants and gear talked about on each episode can be found on my website, foodoriginspodcast.com. I appreciate your support, and thanks for listening.